The main core difference between entry-level positions and mid-level positions is the component of ML design slash ML system design. Can you build a recommendation system for, let's say, Netflix?
To do so much extra hard work for that, be it a jump or a promotion, what was motivating you to do all of this or to go through all of this?
Why I switched from becoming an applied scientist then to externally as a ML engineer in TikTok is because
I'm Naman Pandey. This is the Ready Set Do podcast, and in this episode, my guest is Umang Chaudhary. Umang is a machine learning engineer at TikTok, and prior to that, was an applied scientist at Amazon. Umang's fascinating journey shows that career acceleration isn't just about clocking years after years, but it's about continuously learning, adapting, and being proactively ready to jump onto the next best opportunity. We cover what it takes to crack ML roles in big tech companies in the US even without any prior experience, and spend a lot of time discussing the exact blueprint you can follow to make both internal and external jumps to accelerate your career.
you obviously need to know Python. You obviously need to know one of the serving languages, which can be, let's say, Golang, or it can be Java or C++. Then you obviously need to understand a lot of technologies, let's say, like
If you can walk through probably the TikTok interview process, I think that would be super helpful.
I also transitioned my role from ML engineer to applied scientist within Amazon. That jump in Amazon comes with a pay hike, which is around 20 to 30% increase in your overall salary at the same level.
In line with the theme of learning from somebody who's just a few steps ahead, my goal with this episode is to supply you with all the tools and blueprint you need to accelerate your career progression without being stuck in a rut for years.
I came to the US without any other full-time experience. I straight away came after my bachelor's.
Subscribe on YouTube and any of your favorite podcast apps for weekly episodes and daily clips from those episodes on YouTube and Instagram. And now, without any further ado, here's Umang. Welcome to the only podcast in the world featuring stories of high agency individuals who are just a few steps ahead of us. Umang, welcome.
Hey, what's up?
Doing good, man. It feels like only yesterday, that I met you at Open Atlas, and except it wasn't yesterday, right? Because it's been more than a month now. Actually, almost exactly a month ago, right?
Exactly, it's been exact 1 month. I think it was August 15th or 16th, where
That's right. Yeah.
where
Yeah.
I also interviewed you, and then we also shot a minor clip for your YouTube video as well.
That's true. Yeah, both of which, well, at least one of them is in the works, and I can,
Ah.
share that bit at least. But yeah, hopefully, I'm excited to see myself as well on.
Yeah, definitely. Your video will also be getting posted pretty soon.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
obviously, we have a bunch of really exciting topics to cover here. But just before I start, I wanted to call out your amazing Instagram page, Umang Abroad, in case anyone is interested in checking that out. Umang here does a lot of really great street style interviews with really the Indian diaspora, right? Would that be fair to say? Would you agree?
I would say majority is all kind of immigrants who are in the US predominantly. But yes, since I interview near tech offices in the Seattle area, so I usually encounter a lot of Indians and few Chinese folks as well.
Nice.
So that's the majority of my diaspora. But yes, obviously I've interviewed folks from Spain, folks from
Really, wow.
Southern America, Europe as well.
That's really cool. Yep. So I love watching those. I'm just really gravitated towards any sort of impromptu street style conversations. I think they're just really engaging. So it's amazing that you do this, and I'm just happy to be connected to somebody that does it so well. So with all that said, I do want to jump into the meat and bones of our matter here. So before we get into the nitty gritties of software engineering, machine learning engineering, etc. I want to open up with what is kind of a bit of a tradition on this podcast, which is what is your hottest take, at least that you can, say publicly about moving to the US for higher studies. It can even be around living in the US or being a working professional in the US. But what is a controversial opinion that you think you have, just in terms of this sector?
Mhm. I think it's not a controversial opinion, but it should be very simple in mind to have that is you shouldn't depend on consultancies. You should do your own research when you have to
Got
come
it.
to a country like US.
Mhm.
Moving countries, moving continents is, I think, the second biggest decision of your life apart from, let's say, number one is getting married to a partner.
Yeah.
So that is number one. This is number two. You are changing your lives, moving your life from one continent to another. So this is an extremely big decision of your lifetime, especially in your 20s, where the time passes like so quickly.
Yep.
So depending on consultancies and depending on other people's advice while not doing your own due diligence can be a major red flag and can actually get back to you once you, let's say, come to the US and you're not successful. So doing that due diligence, doing that homework, preparing very carefully of what you're going to encounter should be the right step. And I strongly believe that even if you come in 2025, 2026, a lot of opportunities are still there in the US. You just have to be very selective, be more thoughtful, be more aware, be more proactive, and take the steps accordingly.
That's super helpful, and I would say that's actually, at least for a big section of my listeners, I'm sure that will be pretty controversial. But personally, I second that. And to add to what you said, I also want to share that this is one of those decisions that you can, hit Control Z on technically, right? But it's an
Mhm.
extremely expensive Control Z to hit. Like, it's not like you can randomly just be like, oh, never mind, we'll just go back, right? It's not quite that
Yeah,
easy. So it makes sense to your point to really dig deep and figure out exactly what you're getting into. And instead of relying on what some random stranger told you who is motivated by completely different things, and your career is probably not high up on that list, right? Um,
exactly.
I do also want to explore what you shared around people that are considering to come in 26 now, right? Because we're in the latter half of 25. Yeah, what would you say? Is that still a good idea to consider the US specifically? Would you think,
Yes,
given everything that's going on, and if you can share why you're still bullish?
yes.
Because I know there's a lot of hesitance around this subject right now, at least.
Yes, definitely. So, in terms of, let's say, if I talk about innovation, in terms of if I talk about opportunities in general, not just in the tech sector, but in all the sectors across the board, US is the biggest consumer market. It has a lot more companies. It has a lot more innovation, lot more transparency. All of these things are better or if not the best in the US as compared to a lot of other, like, let's say, third world countries. Or if there's other option is, let's say, China. So which is like more closed in a way, as in like you have a language problem, you have to integrate into culture, which is more harder. Here the best part is in the US you already know the language. You are already used to a lot of culture by watching it online. So you're kind of already accustomed and you have to only take few steps to get adjusted to the culture here. The key things that you need to have are hardworking capability and consistency. If you can have these two things once you come to the US and you have a like clear goal, I think you should be able to achieve. If you want a job, you should be able to achieve that. If you have a longer term vision of starting a business here, you should be able to do that. And if you just want to experience the culture, experience the diversity, you can also experience that. So it's up to you. Be more, I would say, proactive. Okay, yes, in this semester of my master's, I want to do X. In this semester of my master's, I want to do Y. So planning that from the get go. Okay, so in the first semester, I want to target for my internships and maybe take lighter courses for my coursework for the master's. In the second, once I have the internship, probably in the second semester, I would be taking more harder courses that I really like to learn about, but potentially can give me a like lower grade, or
Yeah.
I might not get a great grade. So strategically planning all those things, because you are driving every single decision since you like land foot in the US. So I think anything is achievable still in the US, even in 2025, 2026. And the other thing that I still would want to mention is, even though majority of people think that the current administration is not helping, as to say, in terms of legal immigration also, uh, but I think the entire process is still going towards more merit based immigration. So if you can provide that value, if you are good at your job, if you are hardworking, you will be basically given, you will be how to explain, you will be celebrated,
Got it.
you will be given more opportunities. So think from that angle, when you are selecting the universities, when you're applying hard, when you're applying to all these universities.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that totally tracks. I myself am also. I happen to share the bullishness over the US as well, at least compared to, as you mentioned, some of the other options being Europe. Obviously, I feel like Europe is actually really the only other option that kind of makes sense at this point.
Mhm.
I don't know. You always have like Australia and such, but anyway, not to digress too far into uncharted waters. Um, I think what you just said also kind of segues really well into. I'm curious because you've had such an illustrative career in the US. You worked for two at least really big tech companies. I'm sure you probably have a really cool internship experience as well, etc. as well. But I am curious. Can you walk us through your master's journey? What was it like? And maybe if you can share with us, maybe one or two really helpful, not, I don't want to say advice, because at most advice I find is usually overrated, but maybe we'll put it this way: things that you wished you knew when you started your masters, I think would be a good way to put it.
Very interesting. I wish I knew for masters. Okay. Um, so how I like so I had like pre-planned everything in my head. Okay, this
Nice.
is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to achieve. And let's say my masters in my first semester, in my second semester. A lot of it did follow the plan, but some of it didn't follow. So what I wished I knew, number one was yes, the master's coursework is harder than you expect. It's not as easy. So
You
I
went for
that
computer science, right? You
yes, I
said
did my master's in computer science from UMass Amherst, which is in like top 15, top 20 schools in the US.
that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
So
sorry, please go on.
yeah. Yeah, the first thing was like I was expecting master's coursework to be hard, but it was actually very hard. It took me like 1 week, more than like 5 6 days to complete one assignment, even for like not super hard courses also. So I used to struggle a bit in that front.
Wow.
But I didn't like take that on me that okay, yes, I'm bad at it. I just pivoted to accepting that and also prioritizing other things, which was getting internship, getting more opportunities. And I came to the US without any other like experience, like full time experience. I straight away came out
Wow.
with my bachelor's. So I knew that I would be competing against a lot of other people who have 2 to 3 years of experience or the same internships, same full time job position.
Yeah.
So I was proactive on that front from the beginning, getting more opportunities, reaching out to more folks, getting very aware of what other people are applying to, who are they getting reach outs from, who are the recruiters. Maybe I should also reach out. I should also reach out again. So trying to get all those opportunities, going to networking events, career fairs, and everything, and making opportunities available for myself and making that happen actually by end of first year, by end of first semester, by December, I had two internship offers, one at Dell and second at Amazon. And had
Same.
given interviews at Google and other companies as well by this point. So instead of feeling bad, instead of struggling more on, let's say, getting good grades,
Hmm.
I pivoted myself on doubling down on my internship prep, getting more opportunities there. And so, if I give you an example, in my first semester in one of the courses, I got a C grade.
Oh,
But
wow.
I knew the curriculum, but I knew the system so well about the university that I converted it into a pass fail grade so that it did not impact my entire CGPA, right? And
Ah,
I still graduated with a CGPA of 3.95 out of 4. Um, so which is pretty good at like this level. But
and it is good at any level, let's be honest.
yes. So being that very strategic, accepting, okay, yes, even if you don't do well in particular courses, there are some ways that you can figure out how to make it work for you, like in terms of getting a good CGPA, getting pass fail courses, taking easier courses, taking courses from other departments, not just your department. So being very strategic from the beginning about all those things.
God.
So that is one thing that I wish I knew. Second was I personally felt that I would be integrating so much with the US culture. Like I knew a lot. Like I wanted to like experience, let's say, the fests. I wanted to go to tailgates. I wanted to just integrate so much,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
enjoy that college life and do the party life of the US. But one thing that I didn't know was that COVID would come. So my second, basically, I was able to enjoy my college life basically for one semester, which was also more focused towards coursework, part-time job, getting internship, and the entire next year was COVID,
So I'm
basically.
assuming you joined in 2019 fall. That means, right?
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
And I graduated in 2020 December. So my entire 2020 was me basically staying at home, basically just living with my roommates and
Yes.
some of the friends of my batch. But I still made whatever I could out of it. Like I moved in with American roommates in my second year.
Mhm.
I lived with two, like four of us were living in like two-bed apartment. So I was getting that American experience. All three were like Americans, other three folks,
Yeah.
and I was getting that American experience every single day living with them. And it's just because I was curious about the culture, like how they live, how they approach life, how they, what are the sports that they like, how they keep the things inside their house, how they, everything. Just I was just curious. I've lived with Indians in hostels in my undergrad. I've lived with Indians in the first year of my master's, but I want to experience that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can relate to the thing you said about COVID. Tell me about your internship experience. How was that? Like your first time in corporate, well, anywhere, right? Not even just corporate America, because
Okay.
you said you didn't have any work at. So walk us through maybe where you went and what that experience was like. Yes, yeah, how you if how you enjoyed it at all.
So I did intern at Amazon as a software development engineer, and I was in the checkout team of Amazon. Checkout is like, let's say when you order a particular item, you see the final checkout page, and then you press like, okay, yes, order, select order, and then you the payment process after that, place order button. So I was in that team. My entire experience that I had projected in my resume was of like software engineer, but
Mhm.
like previously like software projects, but they were mainly focused on the machine learning side.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Like I had taken a lot of ML courses in my master's, and I had done an undergraduate like final year thesis at Singapore in and Nanyang Technological University, and I worked on a ML like research project there. So my majority of my application was like resume was ML focused,
Mhm.
but to my surprise, I was aligned, or like I was assigned to a team which was web development focused, and that too in a Java JSP tech stack, uh, which I was like, damn, where did I get myself into? But it was still Amazon. So I was like, yay. But then I was like, nah. So it was like mixed feelings at the beginning, and the feelings were similar like throughout the entire like 3.5 months that I
Huh.
worked with Amazon there. And the main thing that I got from this internship was, yes, it was very intensive. A lot of like onboarding, lot of like understanding like huge like code bases and making changes in those areas, and like building an entire like new feature for the checkout platform, which was like quick look, like zooming in and zooming out of an image like you do on a product page of a like product. Uh, so that was cool, like working end to end, like working very closely with product managers, ideating, finalizing feature details, actually implementing, and seeing the execution online, experimenting online, whether users are liking that feature or not liking that feature. So it was a very end to end like project, and I was owning that end to end. So a lot of skills that I learned in that area, like communication, development process end to end, leveraging a lot of like new technologies, including Java, JSP, which I wasn't like passionate about, but I had to do it because I had to get a full time offer as well. So had to like work my ass off, so to say,
Ye-
get that offer. But eventually, yes, I was able to get that offer. But the funny part is, when I was about to sign my offer, I was like, I will leave the team as soon as I join Amazon, even
that.
after signing the offer, because I didn't want to like work in the software space or like in
I
the
see. So you want to
previous
pivot
web development.
internally,
Yes.
essentially.
So I wanted to go towards the ML side. That is where I was interested in. And I wasn't interested in this old tech stack of like doing web development in JSP language, like Java server pages, or Perl language was also there
Yeah.
for some piece of code, legacy code, and then Java. So I was like, I just want to switch as soon as possible. Want to work in Python. Want to work in ML projects that are like very cool. Want to get that industry experience. So that was my like stint at Amazon as
Mm.
a intern. But then once I joined full time, yeah, I just like switched after like 2 3 months. Gave a lot of like internal interviews for MLE roles, and then eventually was able to land some positions, and then chose one of them and moved to Austin for one of the roles.
Wow. And was that like were those internal interviews like pretty hard? I'm assuming they would be pretty rigorous, right? Because obviously they're trying to find out a fit and all of that. Yes.
Yes, so they are rigorous, but I have to be very honest that they are not as rigorous as compared to like an external
Makes sense.
external in like external
Yeah.
candidate. Yeah. So it's not that extensive, but yes, we still like they still followed that entire structure of having a coding round. They were having like OOPS design round. They were having a ML design round. They were having a ML fundamentals round. So they had like 3 to 4 rounds. Only after that, basically, they were extending the offers.
And did your job title like change completely, or was it uh, at least similar, or you were just working on more machine learning type things versus software?
So in Amazon, the tricky part is my title was changed. My title was changed from software engineer to ML engineer. But the tricky part in Amazon is ML engineer title still fits under the software engineer family. So there are like different families in
I see.
Amazon, where like applied science is a separate family, where there you have the applied scientist position. But software engineer family has software engineer and ML engineer. Data scientist is a separate family, data science. So unfortunately, the pay was same, the level was same, everything was same, just the title, but the business title was changed to ML engineer.
Makes sense. And
Yeah.
so if somebody is looking to apply, from scratch to Amazon, like the Amazon MLE position, could you maybe like I know it's been a few years, right, for you, but could you maybe share just an overview of the type of skills, any tools, any requirements in terms of their resume that are a must have when it comes to a role like this?
Mhm. So in general, like in Amazon, the ML engineer position is not actually like a regular like ML engineer position at let's say TikTok or at
Mm.
Meta or at Google. It's not like that end-to-end ML position where you're actually also building on like working on building the ML models. This position is basically in the for most of the cases, again, it depends from team to team, but in majority of cases, the ML engineer position in Amazon is in the context of supporting applied scientists in the entire process of
Copy.
building models. So, for example, you will be helping in the data ingestion part,
Yep.
like getting the data from different teams and then giving it to the applied scientists, and they will take care of the transformation of the data and like running the ML models on it. And once, let's say, they have run the model, they have evaluated the offline metrics, they have that entire thing ready, and then you will come in handy again to like productionize that model and like make it online. So these are the two components where majority of the software like software engineers slash ML engineers in Amazon contribute in an ML team.
Mhm.
uh, so the skills required for that, right? So the skills required are you obviously need to know Python. You
Yep.
obviously need to know one of the serving languages, which can be, let's say, like Golang, or it can be Java or C++, any of the other languages.
Perfect.
And then you obviously need to understand a lot of technologies, let's say like AWS stack. You need to understand at which component you would need to use an AWS Lambda, at which component you need to use AWS S3 or
Right.
AWS EC2 instances, and so on. So you need to know the AWS tech stack and then understand the ML end-to-end process.
Mhm.
Um, you're not expected to have a depth in one of the ML areas. So that is not something that you will encounter, but this is something you will encounter in an applied scientist interview,
Correct.
where they will be asking you questions about, let's say you have mentioned some projects about transformers or like
Mhm.
NLP. So they will be asking you dive deep questions about like uh the attention mechanism of the transformer model, or like what is the difference between different versions of transformer model and so
Mm.
on. So they will be asking you deeper questions, but as an MLE, you're not expected to know all those, but you're expected to have the breadth of
Yeah,
knowledge
exactly.
from one end to the other. So this is the skill set, and again, like strong coding, strong system design skills. If you're looking at mid level, if not, then that's not needed. But like strong coding, OOPS concepts, and then ML fundamentals. These are the main skills that you would be required. And in today's age, the additional thing that you would need to know is the latest LLM, agentic AI workflows, or LLM workflows, because some of the positions require that today. So that is additional skill set that you need to have.
Amazing. Yeah. So it's so funny. Well, not funny, but interesting that I actually had a Microsoft applied scientist on the show, and this is really good for me because you just completed that circle, right? Like a lot of the things he had talked about, he had not talked about stuff like, how do I get the data that I run my models on, right? And then you came along and you filled that circle for me where you're like, okay, this is what this person's job is, and which is very interesting because I had obviously no idea. That's super helpful. And obviously, for any listeners, I'll link that in the description too if you want to check that out. But in your case, I am curious. So you're at Amazon. Life is good-ish. Would you say? Like, did you like your time there?
Yes, my team, my like life at Amazon and Prime Video, where I was a machine learning engineer initially, was pretty good. My manager, my I had a manager who was at senior level, and like we had some applied scientist folks in the team, some ML engineer folks, some data scientist folks. So it was a very broad like group of people who were working towards like building these internal products in the forecasting space. And the team was very vibrant, like very diverse and very like I would not say like they were very hardworking, but still like very friendly.
Yeah, they
So
like to have fun. Yeah.
yes, my culture, my team's culture was pretty good in that front. And given that it was the COVID time, so we used to have like quarterly offsites. So they used to come to Austin, or I used to go to Seattle. And once we all went to Bay Area, or not Bay, sorry, the Irvine area in the SoCal. So all that was like super fun, like, and a lot of like teammates were at my similar age. So definitely it was like a great experience at Amazon at that.
So then, I know you're not at Amazon currently. So what happened? Do you mind taking us through?
Yeah.
So this story.
Before I even jumped there, like I also transitioned my role from ML engineer to applied scientist within.
Oh, you did. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Interesting.
So, because I was working very closely with applied scientists and I had also contributed in some model development work, so my profile was ready in that way that like a lot of applied scientists and other MLEs in the team also vouched for my transition. So,
Got
I was able to become an applied scientist as well.
And
There
is
is
that a normal pipeline? Like, do lots of MLEs end up becoming data scientists or applied scientists, at least if they want to? Would you
Yes, I
say?
think if they can easily become that if they are like closely working with applied scientists and they take ownership of 1 to 2, let's say, model work streams,
Yeah,
and they start on acting as applied scientists first, then let's say like next performance cycle or next quarter, they should be like if they get like enough support from other applied scientists in the team and like manager, they should be able to transition. Yeah.
got it. And I'm assuming that jump comes with a pay hike, right?
Yes.
That's right.
So that jump in Amazon comes with a pay hike, which is around you can expect like 20 to 30% increase in your like overall
Pretty
salary
sizable.
at the same level. At the same level.
Wow, that's pretty neat, all things considered, right?
Yep. S- Yeah. So the thing like why I switched from becoming an applied scientist then to externally as a ML engineer in TikTok is because I was still it had been like almost 2 years at Amazon, and I recently became an applied scientist at an entry level. So,
Perfect.
and then becoming a mid level would take me at least 1.5 years more if I was even like working super hard.
I see.
It wasn't going to be earlier than that. But now, since I had that ML experience, since I had the applied scientist title as well, and I also was working for like last 2 years, I could externally become a mid-level engineer in like or like an applied scientist in any other company. So so that was my thinking, and I started giving interviews. And this was my first time giving full-time interviews for all these companies. So it was obviously a trial and error. Gave a lot of full loops at companies, including DoorDash, Google, Amazon, not sorry, Amazon, sorry, like TikTok, a few others as Atlassian as well, and I got offers from Atlassian and Atlassian kind of like also cleared the Google loop, but they had like limited headcount at that time because they were reducing their hiring, so that didn't like work out. They were offering me L3 position, which is the entry level at Google, so I wasn't going to take that. So then I had a choice between Atlassian and TikTok, and then I chose TikTok because the
Mhm.
salary was literally 1.5x
Oh
than what I
wow,
was getting offered at Atlassian. Uh,
interesting,
so yeah, that was my journey of like externally switching from Amazon to TikTok and by FA.
amazing. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's super helpful. Automatically, my mind is racing with at least a few questions. I think
Hmm.
the first being that, so when you're trying to make the switch from an entry level applied scientist to a level two applied scientist, is that
Hmm.
the term
Yeah.
in the industry?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hmm.
So when you're trying to do that, I'm sure that process is different from when you're first trying to break into your
Right.
like opening level positions, right? So
Mhm.
could you help paint the picture of how it's different, and maybe if you can walk through probably the TikTok interview process just as a reference, I think
Yes.
that would be super super helpful.
Yes. So the main core difference between, let's say, entry level positions and mid level positions is the component of ML design slash ML system design. So ML
Interesting.
design or ML system design is, let's say, they will give you a problem of, hey, can you build a recommendation system for, let's say, Netflix?
Mhm,
So now you have to walk through the entire process of, let's say, gathering the requirements,
mhm,
functional, non-functional, and then working on what the data is, what the features you will build, what the models you will like use,
mhm.
and why you will use those, and then what the evaluation metrics will be, and then tying it back to, let's say, the business metrics that will impact this entire system or the model. So so this is like one additional interview round that you have to go through. Now some companies want you to have that discussion around the system area of the entire ML end-to-end process, and some companies want you to have only the problem solving aspect of the ML problem, like just
Mhm.
diving deep into the model details, diving deep into the data
Uh-huh.
details, gathering details. So that depends from company to company,
Okay.
but this is additional component that you have to clear, like additional one round that you have to clear as
Got it.
compared to the entry level position.
Interesting. And then when you're trying to, prepare for this, so you have a full-time job at this point, right? This is all on the side of your desk, so to speak.
Mhm.
Um, that sounds like a lot to me to do. So how were you able to allocate time and efficiently use the limited time you had to
Mhm.
not just apply, right? But once you have the interviews, you have to study for that is a separate ball game altogether.
Yeah.
So how did you manage to do all of those things?
Yes, I think the best part is that you have to prioritize. I think, let me say that again.
Mhm.
Uh, the most important thing is like in life, the most important thing in life is like setting priorities. So if this is a very big priority for me, that switching is a priority for me, then I have to make time for it.
Yeah.
uh, and then which means that probably I will not go out on weekends. Maybe I will not spend time with friends on weekdays in the evenings. I will prepare after my job. I will spend some time on preparing.
Hmm.
And the biggest challenge for becoming, let's say, ML engineer or like clearing these interviews today, even today, in fact, at that time, it was even a big more challenge, is that there is no one resource out there through which you can prepare everything. Let's say
Yeah.
for
Yep.
coding, for lead code, you can just go on lead code, you can prepare. Or for system design, you have like still 1 to 2 resources you can prepare.
Hmm.
But for ML, the context, the scope is so vast. You have ML fundamentals, you have ML coding, you have ML design, you have ML system design, and there is no one resource out there through which you can prepare everything. So it was a trial and error again and again, like giving interviews, getting some idea. Okay, this can also be asked. Again, giving interviews. Okay, this can also be asked. This is why I failed.
Mm.
And at TikTok, I failed my full loop 3 times before I gave the fourth time for a different team, and then I got through
Huh.
all the interviews. So the best part about TikTok at that time was there was no cool off period. So once I was getting rejected, I
Ah.
applied again, and then I got a reach out from a recruiter again, and then I gave the interviews again. So first time I failed in the first interview, second time I failed in the second interview, third time I failed in the third interview,
That's
and the fourth
crazy.
time I cleared
No
all.
way.
Yes.
Wow,
So
I can't. And so hold on. So did they know that you've been applying and like what you said last time and where you failed and all that, right?
probably, yes, probably.
But they did not bring it up like proactively to talk to you about that?
They did not bring any of that up, and maybe they
Ah,
cannot even see. I think different teams in TikTok cannot see what the performance was in the previous
I
team or
see.
something.
I see.
So, and the recruiters are totally different
Yep,
for all
that's
these
true.
positions.
That's true.
So, because the company is like very big, so they
Absolutely.
don't
Yeah,
get
yeah.
to know all those details. And again, like the interviewers for ML are like very interviewer dependent as well, like team dependent as well.
Mm.
So you don't know like what is getting asked. So the day I used to get rejected, I used to apply again, and I did not like. And this was, I think, 6 month journey, 6 month of entire like trial and error, starting April till November. Starting, I
Oh
started
wow.
working
Wow.
in
Okay. Okay.
December.
Interesting.
So it was a long journey of like preparing, giving interviews,
Yeah.
keeping everything, maintaining my job performance as well. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. So what do you think ended up being the final click that you needed? Like, was it just a question of multiple attempts? It sounds like it was, and it to me it feels like you were the difference, that you did something that got you that offer that fourth time, right? And not just a
Yes.
function of the number of attempts that you were getting.
Oh, yes, definitely. It was again like my preparation for coding. So, let's say initially when I gave interviews, I wasn't fully prepared. I was still weak in some areas,
Mm-hmm.
but I kept on interviewing and I kept on preparing. So, by the end of my, let's say, when I was giving that final loop for
Mm-hmm.
TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to complete the two coding questions that they gave me within 30 minutes. And the interviewer was so impressed by my performance. Like they expect at
Wow.
least two coding questions in like that 45 minute. And they also ask you some project based questions in that time. So I
Mm-hmm.
was able to do that in the optimal way, testing like complexity wise, covering everything, time
Mm-hmm.
overall, like going through the cases, test cases, and covering everything. So the interviewer was super impressed. And same thing happened in the second round as well, because I was keeping on preparing, I was consistent with my prep. That eventually led me to perform really well in the interviews. And this is again like very important even today, because right
Mm-hmm.
now if you're not doing the best in the interview in 2025, it's most likely that you will still get rejected, even if you perform at, let's say, like, oh, you think like you did great, but
Yeah.
still there's a very high chance that you will get rejected in today's times, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot more competition, lot more people are willing to like become MLE, and a lot of people have the similar performances. So you need to be at the top of your game, especially today.
Agreed.
But I was able to clear all those interviews at that time just by constantly preparing and
Mm-hmm.
improving from my failures, like learning where are my missing pieces. Initially it was coding, then it was also ML system design, then working on that, refining my answers in an optimal way to save time in terms of behavior interview, so that I don't blabber a lot in my interview, because TikTok interviews are only 3 rounds, and they have, in the first round they will ask you some like your project questions, and some about like mainly focus on the coding part. In the
Mm-hmm.
second round they will focus more on ML coding and some ML fundamentals, and in the
Mm-hmm.
third round they will focus more on ML system design or ML design, and
I see.
alongside they will ask you some behavior questions.
Got
So
it.
you have to not just focus on one component for the entire 45-minute interview, but also cover that, let's say, in 30 minutes, and then have some time for other part of the other component of the interview. So you have to be very time efficient. So all of this like went through the trial and errors, practicing, refining my answers, keeping them succinct, giving more value in whatever I say. So that all led to the entire success in the end.
I think one of the things that I'm really blown away by is your continued perseverance through this entire thing. And I say that because I don't know, I speak to a lot of friends of mine, and I think this partly applies for me as well. But most people, when they are at a job, any job, right, and they've been at that job for like a couple years, life is good. Well, if not good, life is going, I guess.
Mhm.
And then it just, you fall into almost this kind of this rut, right, where you're like, okay, it's not the greatest, but pays the bills. I'm living comfortably, getting by at work, blah blah. What's the point of hustling so much harder?
Mhm.
So I guess really, what I'm getting at is, for all of any of my listeners that are kind of on the fence about, is it worth, going out of their ways to do so much extra hard work, effort,
Mhm.
for that, be it a jump or a promotion or whatever the case might be. What was the thing that was really motivating you to do all of this or to go
Mhm.
through all of this?
Yeah. I think number one was that I've come to the US, and I know I can make a lot of my time here, which is I know I can get a higher salary.
Hmm.
So, if I'm being very honest, higher
Absolutely.
salary was one of the biggest factors in my journey as well.
Hmm.
And then also, it was more like, okay, yes, I've been in this team for 1.5 years now. I know how things work. I want a different challenge. I want to work in a new ML domain. So this was also another thing that I was from the beginning like interested in, like trying out, like seeing the working style of different companies. And since the beginning, I always had this thought in my head that I would be working for Google or a big tech company where I would get
Hmm.
free food. It might sound very silly, but yes, I wanted
No,
free food in
I
my
love
office.
free food. Yeah, I mean,
This
who
was
doesn't
my
love free
dream.
food? Yeah,
And I
nice.
got that. And I was able to achieve that through TikTok. Now I get free lunch, I get free dinners, I get free snacks.
Wow.
So this is good. This is a great perk that I save a lot of my time on a daily basis.
Hmm.
And then I like higher salary, working on an interesting like ML area, working at such a big scale. TikTok is a very big product, biggest product in terms of social media in the US.
Yeah,
So working on all cool like projects, and then obviously getting all these benefits, making the most of my time here in the US, earning a higher salary in big tech. So all of these were my goals, and I feel I was eventually able to achieve them.
that's amazing and so inspiring.
Thank you.
Um, are you able to at all speak on what you do at TikTok?
Hmm. Yes. So right now, so I recently, so I work in the space of so let me say that again. So I work in the space of risk management for TikTok. So
Okay.
basically, let's say if there is a user on TikTok platform and they are posting some sort of like bad content, which can be low quality content, which can be like
Like
some
AI
explicit,
generated slop,
yeah,
like
AI
100.
generated
Yeah,
stuff, like
yeah,
it
yeah.
can be explicit content, can be sexual content. So all these kind of contents, we detect them using machine learning.
Ah,
And I am owning the piece of creator rewards program at this point. So which means
oh
that
wow.
yes, so I own that entire project. So basically, who gets into that entire, who will be earning revenue and who will be like moved out of that platform
Hmm.
based on their content, based on their like behavior on the platform. If it is
Yep.
a group behavior and like there's tens of hundreds of accounts doing the same kind of like malicious attack on the platform,
Hmm.
posting similar content, so removing them, not helping them earn a lot. So I basically own that piece of TikTok US. And yeah, basically I build ML solutions and
Wow.
maintain existing ML solutions to uh, yeah, reduce the risk on the platform and improve our like overall revenue, because we give so much money to all these creators. So
Exactly.
if we
Yeah.
can save that money on like bad users, then that's an impact of like millions of dollars that we
Hmm.
see on a monthly basis. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that is what I own.
Definitely. That's so interesting. And yeah, like I feel like that's almost probably, at least looking into the future, right? One of the most important areas I would say for TikTok. I imagine this has been so helpful, and really appreciate you taking the time. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few comments asking for various other topics that we only could a little bit get into. And
Yeah.
I'm sure if you'd be open to it, I'd love to have you back to look at any of those topics in the future.
Oh, definitely. I would really love to like get back and talk with you, Naman. I really enjoyed that you did not have some sort of script or like any like prepared questions in general. You just had some ideas in mind and you were going off of about what I was responding. So I really felt like it was a very natural like conversation that I had with you. And yeah, great job on this podcast.
Thank you. I try. That brings us to the end of that fascinating episode with Umang. I took away so much, and honestly, I think anybody listening is now better prepared to make those big jumps in their career going ahead. If you would like to support me and if you found value in this episode, The easiest way to do that is by subscribing on YouTube and leaving me up to a 5-star rating on Spotify or any of your favorite podcast apps. Something that goes a really long way for me is if by word of mouth you share this episode with somebody, a friend, a colleague, whoever it might be, and interact, engage, drop a comment for any guest recommendations, any suggestions that you want me to take going forward in the next episodes. Catch you all in the next one. New episodes every Wednesday.